Blog Talk Radio.
Fighting voices in my mind that say I'm not enough. Every single lie that tells me I will never measure up. Am I more than just the sum of every high and every low? Remind me once again just who I am, because I need to know.
Can you identify any areas in your life where stagnation is manifesting? Now, I know some of you might say, no, I can't. Well, I want us to look at stagnation for what it really is. some people have identified stagnation as something that's not growing or that's not producing. I don't believe that's stagnation. To me, stagnation can also be that yes, we're growing, yes, we're producing. However, we're growing and producing in a manner that's disrespectful to the purpose and the greatness that resides inside of us. And listen, we all have areas where we can identify that we could be doing a lot better in. There's greater potential in those areas than we are experiencing. And guess what? I have a tool that will help you begin to experience transformation in those areas of stagnation in your life. And that tool is called From Stagnation to Transformation. That's right. That is my book, From Stagnation to Transformation. So I want you to head over to my website, www.cliftonpettyjohn.com. I want you to hit there. I want you to hit the Transformation tab. There you're going to find a free preview of my book. That's right, a free preview of my book. And I promise you, after you read the preview, you're going to want to invest in your personal transformation through purchasing the book. So again, head over there, purchase the book. Let me know you purchased it. Here's what I always say, guys. If you purchase the book, you read the book, you apply the principles in your life, and yet you still are stagnant in the areas that you are applying them to, and you're not experiencing any transformation, and you can prove to me that you have applied these principles, I will give you a 100% refund. That's right, a 100% refund. Why? Because I believe in the application of the principles that are outlined in this book. So again, visit www.cliftonpettyjohn.com and purchase your copy of From Stagnation to Transformation. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to, if you're a first-time listener, Transformation Radio. That's right, Transformation Radio, where we transform lives through purposeful conversations, regardless of how uncomfortable and unpopular those conversations are. My name is Clifton Pettyjohn. I'm a purpose strategist, author, transformation coach, and spiritual leader. I provide tools and strategies to transition you from a life of merely existing to living a life full of abundance and purpose. Again, thank you for joining us on tonight, guys. I am extremely excited on tonight, even though I queued up the wrong intro. Nevertheless, I do want you to understand just how awesome and amazing you are. And if you listen to the lyrics of those words, those lyrics can help you at some of your lowest moments in life, when you feel as if you're nothing, when you feel as if you're not loved, you feel as if there's no way, no hope, no how. Listen to the lyrics of those songs, that song, and that will help you continue on in your journey, all right? But here's why I'm excited tonight. 2 reasons, all right? 3 reasons. 1, I'm excited to be back because it's been a while. I've been on a little hiatus. That's number 1. I'm excited to be back with each and every one of you. Number 2, we have an amazing guest on tonight that I believe if you will listen to this young man's story, it's going to aid in your personal transformation. So I'm excited about that. And number 3, guys, today is April the 22nd. I did not realize until about an hour ago that this very day last year, April 22nd, 2019, we had our very first show of Transformation Radio. Now, if you go back and listen to that first show and then listen to this show, you will see the growth that this show has experienced. My first show, man, I was nervous. I didn't know what to expect. I did not want to be on radio. If anybody knows me, I would love to do the work behind the camera, behind the scenes. But, when purpose pulls you and calls you somewhere, many times it's going to lead you to places that you are uncomfortable. But you're going to find out in those uncomfortable spaces just how awesome you were created to be. So I want to thank Miss Yvonne Mason for inviting me and welcoming me to the Off the Chain family and allowing me to have Transformation Radio on this station. I also want to take time to shout out our very first guest, Apostle James Triplett. I thank you. I appreciate you for the push, the encouragement, for even being on the show when I was so green. If y'all go back and listen to the show, you'll know I didn't even know how to work the switchboard. We had no way of communicating with each other behind the scenes, so we were communicating on the fly. It has been such a great journey for me, and I remember somebody had encouraged me, man, delete your old shows that had the sound problems and had all these other problems, but I don't delete them. You know why? Because I want to be able to physically measure growth, and I want others that are looking for an example to be able to physically measure growth. So that's a message to each and every one of you that are out there as well. Some of you are waiting for everything to be right or everything to be perfect or everything to look like it is professionally produced before you're willing to step out and do some of the great things that are inside of you. I encourage you today, if it's a podcast, begin to plan and implement that plan. Begin to plan and implement a plan of execution for your podcast. Quit trying to wait for everything to fall in line and be perfect. Sometimes you got to be like Nike and just do it. Even with ministry things and business and in your personal life, things that you're afraid to take that jump and take that leap, begin to take some of those leaps. Begin to jump. And I'm telling you, your life will never, ever, 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 I think you get it, be the same, all right? So, again, I thank you, Yvonne. I thank you, Apostle James. I got to get you back on the show now so that you can have a proper show, because that first show, you really helped us through, some transitional moments. We started off the show, guys, by going by having one show a month. And I remember I was like, man, I don't even have time to do one show a month. Then in September, we went to 2 shows a month. Then by December, I think we did like 6 or 7 shows because it was my birthday month and we were doing something special. One of the things I wanted to do for my birthday was introduce everybody to some people that could help them along the way. We had some very special guests, throughout the entire year and through that the month of December. And what I'm going to do real quick, I'm going to go through the list of our guests just to thank them for being there with me in that first year, because we're about to take off and do some crazy stuff. I mean, some crazy stuff. And I remember when I first started the show, I was hesitant about some of the people that I wanted to invite on the show, the ideas I had for the show, because Yvonne had basically given me her audience and said, here, and she made her audience my audience. And I thank each and every one of you for continuing to listen to the show, even though there's such diversity, from my show to her show and even other shows on this very network. So, guys, again, I thank you. So I thank Apostle James. I thank author Keisha Brown. Author Keisha Brown was our first 2-time guest on the show. I thank my brother, Prophet Delquan Johnson. He was the most viewed show that we've had up until the month of December of 2019. He's now the second most viewed show, listened to show. I'm acting like we're on TV already. But I thank him for who he is. Pastor Clarence Hayes out of Philadelphia. Make sure you guys are checking all of these people out. They have amazing ministries. They have amazing businesses. They are amazing individuals. They are changing the game like we know it. Dr. Jesse Sanders, Samuel Dennison, who is going to be coming back on the show as well. Willie Sanders, Pastor Gordon Walker. That's my massage therapist, guys. Awesome business. Check him out. Demetrius Moore, Apostle Antoine Wallace, a teacher of teachers. Michael McMillan Jr. This guy, I'll be honest, was my favorite interview so far. And that was Darius Lavelle Mitchell, or Darius, I said Darius. Darius Lavelle Mitchell. Some of you may know him as Kid. Some of you know him as the Icon Kid. It was my most controversial interview that I've done for some of the people that were listeners of the show. However, the amazing thing about it is it became my most viewed show. His 2-part, because we did a 2-part interview, both interviews have now become the most viewed. So I don't care what your background is. I don't care what other people think about your background or even your present moment. If you have a story, I believe that this is a platform that the Creator gave me to open up for individuals to be able to share their story, okay? Delvin Eugene Reese, Mark Coley, Evan Brown, Deron Essex. That was all of 2019, guys. It was only supposed to be 12 shows. We ended up doing 18 shows with 16 guests. Then transitioning to 2020, we started off with a banger, Mr. Kyle King. Then we had Justin Michael Williams. And then we had Derek Gordon, who still has to come back on and complete part 2. But each and every one of you guys that I named, I appreciate you. I believe in everything that you are doing, and I believe that the world is a greater place because of each and every one of you. All right, now that's out of the way. I'm just excited, guys, and I wanted to celebrate, the fact that we made it a year, guys, because you don't know how many times I wanted to quit. I can laugh about it now, but you don't understand how many times I wanted to quit, but I understood that I could not quit. And the reason why I understood that I could not quit is because I understand what I've been called and created to do. But also, guys, you guys give tremendous feedback. You give tremendous support. And because of your love and your support, I was able to understand the value and the importance of what it is that we are offering through Transformation Radio. All right, so let's get to tonight's show. I've kept my guests waiting long enough. As I said, we have an amazing guest. I do want to reiterate, because it's been a while, this is a safe space for everybody to come on and express their belief systems and who they are. Everything that's said by our guests and myself, you may not agree with, and that's okay. We all can agree to disagree in a respectful manner. But the key word to that is respect. That's the root word of respectful, is respect. We want to do things in a respectful manner. I open up the phone lines. You're able to call in throughout the entire show because why? It's an open conversation for all of us. However, you must call in and be respectful of my guest, other callers, and myself. If anytime I feel any energy that's disrespectful, I'm going to be forced to push a little button that's going to end our communication. But I don't believe we're going to have that problem tonight because I believe the listeners out there are ready and open to receive, as well as our guest is ready and open to share. So let's get this call-in number before I get to him. The call-in number is 516-387-1756. Again, 516-387-1756. Again, you can call in at any time throughout the show. But now, without further ado, I want you all to help me welcome to the show Bishop, Prophet, Labrett Foster. Labrett, how are you tonight, sir?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing well, sir. I'm doing well. As I said, I'm excited. This is kicking off our second year, and I couldn't think of a better way to kick it off than with a great conversation with an individual that is creative and just ready to do things that have never been done before. So unless you have anything else to say, we're going to dive right into the conversation.
Absolutely.
Okay. So here's how I always like to start the conversation. I start the conversation with an icebreaker or just a fun question just to break the ice, basically. And that question is, if you had one superpower, what would that superpower be and why?
To fly, because I won't have to worry about paying. Like, I can get to work exactly at the time that I need to get to work. So it would be flying. Definitely would be flying.
Listen, that would be a great, like you said, you wouldn't have to worry about traffic. You wouldn't have to worry about fees. You wouldn't have to worry about any of those things. You could leave a little later. You could do all of those great things. So I definitely get that. Awesome. So now here's what we're going to do. This helps us transition into our conversation. Sometimes we finish the game, sometimes we don't. But what we're going to do, we're going to play a game of word association. Okay? I have here 8 words. Okay? I want you to tell me either in one word, a statement, or however way you want to express what this word means. If you want to sing, you can sing it. You have a scripture you want to share. If you have a excerpt from your book that concerns it you want to share, just express it in whatever manner you want to. Sometimes, like I said, we don't get through the entire list because we'll get stuck on one word, and before we know it, the time is up. So we're going to start with the word life. Life.
Well, I think, as I always say, when I'm doing a live message, or when I'm doing, little messages that can go on a little Facebook, where you can watch it on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or Snapchat. Life is full of surprises, but at the same time, it's how we live our life. Are we living it positive, or are we living the way that we want people to see us in? Like, what style are we living our life? What lifestyle are you living? How are you living? Are you pushing to live a better life? Like, are you trying to get yourself out the hood? Are you trying to be creative with your life and where you're trying to go? So that's definitely an easy word for me.
Got you. Now I'm going to ask a question right off of that word. You talked about life being full of surprises. What is or how have you handled surprises in your life? How do you handle those surprises? Because, sometimes in life we want things to go, I want A to match, to lead me to B, and then B to lead me to C, and sometimes life will be A, Z, R, P, B, Q, all over the place. How do you handle that?
Well, I've grown to it was a hassle for me, handling things growing up. Like the age I am now, I don't probably tell people I'm 30, but prior to me living in DC for 8 years, I hit rock bottom back to back to back, and so it took me to move in my best friend's house, and he only had a 1-bedroom apartment, so I had to sit still before I made it to Atlanta and actually endure the processes of trying to figure out what I wanted to do, where I wanted to go, what I wanted to do for school. Because at that particular time, it seemed like my career in fashion and retail was over. And so I wound up just sitting there and getting my thoughts together and allowing my instincts and my creativity to start flowing and be like, okay, I'm going to take a pause. I'm going to collect unemployment, and I'm just going to enjoy the several months or the 8 months. It was maybe about 12 or 13 months where I got to enjoy the unemployment before I made my decision to move to Atlanta, and then I wound up getting a job in retail. So it was something for me to hit rock bottom. I hit rock bottom 4 times, and then to move to Atlanta and hit it twice, and now I'm back home in Pennsylvania to where I seem to be doing pretty good.
So let me ask you a question, because you're talking about hitting rock bottom, and I think we all have those rock bottom moments and those rock bottom experiences. And each of us, you hear that word rock bottom, it means something different to all of us, yet in turn it means the same. How did you develop that tenacity to be able to bounce back from the rock bottom and understand that you weren't defined by that rock bottom, you were defined by what you were going to do with that rock bottom?
What happened was, my faith is very strong, but I say it's gotten much more stronger as I begin to develop and to understand. But it took a lot of effort, a lot of courage to admit because that was what was holding me back, was the fact that I wasn't admitting that I hit rock bottom, and I wasn't trying to look apart for anybody. So when I became transparent within myself, transparent within my spirit, we know that God knows, but when I was able to pray those things out and to utter those things into the atmosphere, I was able to fully get myself together and to bounce back. It was to the point to where at that particular time I couldn't even write. And so once I started to admit it, that was around springtime, I started to admit that I had got robbed between that particular time. And then I said, okay, I got to admit that I actually am hitting rock bottom here. That was my first time ever being robbed. And everything started coming. Like when I tell you that I was able, I forgot I had insurance on everything. And then people were just telling me, you need to call the insurance. And I was like, oh, I don't have insurance. And I wind up getting everything back. I wind up, my creative juices started flowing again. And so with me, it was the fact that I had to admit it, because I was holding everything back and I was not admitting it to myself. That was I was my own hindrance. To the point to where I was able to admit, okay, you hit rock bottom, and to pray and to, seek clarity and direction. And that's how I got to bounce back all those times.
Awesome. Now, let's go to the second word. That was good. The second word is love.
Love yourself. Love where you're going. And I'm going to add embrace. Love and embrace where you're going.
Okay.
And to love everything around you.
Okay. Can we talk about a little bit about loving yourself? I always like to hear everybody's definition or everybody's view of loving yourself. What does loving yourself mean to Labrett?
Loving myself is me, and that's even in my book, how I embraced a new identity. And I didn't forget who I was, and I didn't forget where I came from. That's what keeps me humble. But it was the fact that I found this new wind of myself, even with writing, because I love to write, where I can get all my creative thoughts together, or when I'm upset or depressed, I have a nobody judge me. I have a little bit of time agenda calendar, but I turned it into a notepad inside. So I write all of my personal notes, prophecies, everything that comes to my mind. I write, and so it helps me when I go back to look to where I see a different me, which I embrace a different me with my looks, my styles. I'm very fluent with changing my styles now. So it's just something with falling in love with me, and it has everything to do with allowing yourself to have another part of you that has never been or has been dormant. And so I just been doing ministry for so long. And people tell me, take a break. You've been in this since you were 16. Take a break. And in taking a break, I began to develop myself. I began to go to school. I began to be this creative person. And even when I got back in ministry, I was still this person. I was still creative, still doing what I needed to do, still had the balance. But my first love is me. I can't love my daughter. I can't love my family if I don't love myself. I can't love God if I don't love myself.
Right.
So
and that's so
with
true.
Loving yourself, yeah.
I was just going to say that's so true that sometimes we try to focus on loving everyone externally, that we miss out on the point that the best way that we can love them is by loving ourselves. I used to tell people how I found it easy to express love, or sometimes what I thought was love to others, while hating myself. But when I really fell in love with myself, I realized that the love that I was able to give was more authentic, more freeing, and even more received, because now I was owning it as well. So did you ever have a time where you struggled with loving yourself, loving who you were or who people perceived you to be?
Yes, and I laughed at it, and I'm gonna tell you why I laughed at it, and I made a lot of other people laugh at it. Me and my aunt just recently laughed at it, to be honest, because there was a time that I hated how I looked. I hated that I had a gap. I hated that I had a big forehead and a long nose. I thought I was Italian. So when I began to love myself, I would tell people I use my gap and my forehead to an advantage to get who I want and what I want. So it was always a thing growing up. You know, I would have people tell me you're very handsome and stuff like that. I used to walk with my head down growing up because I would to myself, this is all me. It has to deal with me not accepting myself or the identity that I had, and I still have. Like, you know, there's moments where I'm like, oh no, this is terrible, but I flip that and like, no, let's see how I'm going to do this. Let's see how I'm going to do that. So it was an issue in my childhood all the way up until my last year of high school when I decided I wanted to change my look for the first time. And that was, I told my mom to go get me some Dickies, a Dickies shirt, and some Timbs. And that was the first time I ever wore boots. My family thought I was going through an identity crisis. When my last year in high school, I said, no, I want to change my look because it's something inside of me that I want to do that's forcing me to let this other side of me out. So absolutely, it wasn't hard. It was just, it took me into high school to fully love myself.
Now I want to ask you a question. You talked about the creativity and releasing the creativity and becoming fluid in your fashion. Do you believe, you know, just asking your thoughts on this question here, do you believe that many creatives' creativity is smothered because they won't allow themselves to be fluid in an expression of themselves that they've never done before, or look they've never done before, the struggle they have with that?
Yes, and I'm saying yes because I have a degree in from the Art Institute, even though it's no longer here. I got it while I was in D.C. And our professor always said, you know, fashion is eternal, but fashion is your own statement. And a lot of people don't, because they go off a trend, they don't know how to broaden their own self. They don't know how to be creative because they're following other people. And it's okay to get certain things from certain people, but me, I don't care. If I put checker and plaid together and we'll rock it. Because at the end of the day, it's expressing your own creativity. That's your identity that nobody can steal. And so you see a lot of people in any type of culture that is scared because they're looking at what other people might say. Now, when you go to New York City, you see our diversity of everything in the summertime, and my eyeballs just be looking because people are expressing who they are, and they're very fluent expressing who they are, and don't care. I'd seen a guy with his girlfriend not too long ago. I said, "Is that your wife bag? That's cute." He said, "No, this is my purse." I said, "Excuse me." He said, "You good?" Brand new Louis purse. It was a small little bag, and she carrying around a book bag. So it was the opposite. So people express their own self in their own way, and I think sometimes that we have to learn how to step outside the box. It's okay to step out little by little.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree with that. That's why I wanted to ask your thoughts on it, too. I feel like a lot of people's creativity gets smothered because they're so worried about if I wear this, if I say this, if I change my hair color, if I change my hairstyle, if I rock a purse, if I rock a man bag, if I do any of those things, people are going to laugh at me. They're going to say this about me. They're going to say that about me. And whenever you have that mindset, you begin to limit your creativity because now you're submitting to what other people are identifying as their norm you're making it your norm. So that's one of the things that I like, that I noticed, from afar about you, is that even with your fashion, even with your posts, you're not trying to mimic what somebody else is doing. You're blazing your own trail. And I believe that when you get people that blaze their own trail, it helps set other people free as well. And that's ministry too, so
yes,
I like that. Well, which leads us right to our next word, which is ministry. Did you hear me?
No, I didn't.
Oh, I'm sorry. Ministry. The next word is ministry.
Yeah. Oh, let's see. I'm born and raised in Church of God in Christ, Ezekiel Church of God in Christ here in Chester, Pennsylvania. I've been a YPWW president for the district that I was under, which was the Keystone District. Bishop Williams, who is actually still living, his son, I believe, is the pastor of the church now. But I became an elder at the age of 18. I was an adjutant. At that time, we called them armor bearers. I've been a junior deacon at God's House of Prayer and Prayer after I left the Church of God in Christ, and that's when I fully started venturing out after I left the Church of God in Christ. Due to I started studying the word homosexuality on my own because I felt that strong urge and instincts, which bumped heads because I was getting ready to become an assistant pastor to Elder Carroll's church. So we began to bump heads. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to leave. Left the jurisdiction, left the fellowship, and got under Apostle Andre Merritt, I believe, who is now in the Carolinas. And ever since then, I've just been pushing, I want to say, let's see, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Well, run about 12, 13 years of preaching. I've got 6 years of pastoring under my belt.
Okay.
And it's been rocky. It's had nice crowds. Definitely had nice crowds. But people can make you not have a joyous time pastoring. Let's just say it like that. But
yeah. So now I was listening to what you were saying about how you started studying, the word homosexuality. So how was that transition for you? I heard you talk about Church of God in Christ. That is one extreme to another extreme. So how did you handle that whole process? Was that a rough transition for you? Did it start rough and become an easier transition for you? Did you have mentors you reached out to? How did that transition take place?
I do have mentors. One of them is O.C. Allen. We have another one that's Apostle Lay. A lot of people don't know Apostle Lay is my godfather.
Apostle Lay.
Yeah, that's one man that just is on point. I have Rabbi Dante Sullivan, who's in Atlanta. So I had a lot of people that are mentors to me. My spiritual mother is Michelle Tillage out of Atlanta, Georgia. Timothy Lee Jackson Smith was a mentor. But transitioning to Church of God in Christ, this man is my actual sibling. He's a family member. So it's very awkward because I've heard conversations about him. People, they talk. This church is full of old people, and they still talk. The fact that I'm a bishop and I'm an openly gay. It's not even the fact that I'm openly anything. It's just the fact that I'm progressive. So the fact that they know that I'm a progressive bishop, he does not like it. So when he sees me at major functions, he'll shun me away until the end of the function. And when I speak, it's like I don't boast myself up, but as my family even said, it's like he gets mad and angry and tries to follow right behind me. But I look at it as my gift. I let my gift speak. I don't try to speak for my gift. And so that's what people see. But it was a hard transition with him. It was easy for everybody else because my daughter's mother is from the same church, but Grace Church of God in Christ, which my church came out of, this major superintendent in the Church of God in Christ in Pennsylvania came out of major church. So everybody knows about me and everybody knows my balance and how I am. So when they're around me, they call me. They try not to call me Bishop because I ask them not to call me by my name.
Right.
So it was just hard for him, I'm guessing, because I'm not there. And my family is, I'm the third generation to come out of that church. My mother's come out of it. My grandmother's come out of it. My great grandmother has came out of it. So I left. They all stayed. My grandmother and my mother are still there.
Okay.
I left. My sister left. But I am the third out of my family on that side because my dad there and me. But on that side, I'm the third generation Church of God in Christ.
Understand. Well, sometimes God has to pull you out. You learn what you learn for a season or seasons, but then your purpose ends up being something bigger, greater, far beyond, what would be the restraints or the restrictions of that. So that's a good thing that you were willing to hear God and be willing to step out for a people that many don't know how to handle, as it relates to ministry, because that can be very challenging as well because we've been mishandled so many years, so that's why I wanted to hear you, how you went from one extreme to the other because, we all have our own journey and things that we can laugh at and then some things that sometimes still make us cry about, but we were willing to go through that process. So let's go to the next word here, fashion.
Well, I think I probably already touched that one. So for me, it's just a way of life for me. I've been in this 15 years. I've been a regional merchandiser for Ann Taylor. I've been a stylist and a sales lead, ship supervisor, co-manager for BCBG. I'm now at Express as a stylist and a visual assistant. And now because I'm going to school for pre-law, criminal justice and biblical studies, I work part-time as a security guard overnight and do some extra stuff so they put the security and concierge together. So fashion is just fashion to me. It's an everyday thing. It's just a way of life. Even when I'm home, I got a habit of being fashionable. It's not put together. It's just who I am.
I get that. And I think that you tonight have caused a lot of us to look at fashion differently because you made us understand the embodiment of it being who one is. So it's kind of I look at a lot of things from branding and marketing, and listening to you talk about fashion, it's like it ties right into the personality, the identity, the creativity of an individual, and a lot of people miss the how powerful fashion can be because sometimes it's kind of shunned. Okay, so now let's talk. The word is purpose. Purpose.
I believe that everybody has a purpose. Some people get their purpose taken away. We got to bury my cousin. He was shot and killed. He's 15, so some people don't even get a chance to see their purpose. Some people die before at an old age and never got a chance to actually experience their purpose. So everything has a purpose. Everything has a plan. Everything has a purpose. I'm a firm believer that it was in the plan of God and the will of God for my life to come back home for a certain amount of time to finish getting this degree, to complete, but I started to complete. So everything has a purpose. We just had to learn how to look at it in the correct lens to understand that it was meant for a purpose.
Okay. Next word, transformation.
Whew. That could be hard for some people. Like, because you have to. A lot of people, like even with myself, it could be hard because you're becoming something that you're not used to, and it makes you uncomfortable because you feel like you're about to go nuts before you even know that you have actually became that person, that individual that is better, and so or it could be worse because some people don't know how to take it. But for myself, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. Transformation is definitely good, and especially in the realms of the spirit. Like, you have to know that you're not going to be in one dimension, in one realm, and then hit to another dimension. It just won't work. So even with a balanced life or outside of the church, you have to know that even with those that might not be in the church, you still have to go to another height, another depth. And so if you can't stay stagnant, because if you stay stagnant, you're just going to miss everything. You're going to be unbalanced.
Right. Awesome. No, nothing else to add to that. That was great. Okay. Now we're going to kind of talk a little bit about your book for these last two words, okay? The first word is struggle. Struggle. What does that word mean to you? Or struggles?
That word to me means everything. That is how I got struggles I've overcome, is because of my childhood. A lot of people don't know that, and a lot of people say, "Oh, it's a medical." It's not a medical anything. It is actually genetic. ADHD, OCD, and ADD is a genetic thing, and it comes from either two of your parents or one of your parents. And my father is mentally slow, and I have no problem. And I tell people, I don't say it for sympathy or anything like that. It just happens. It just happens to be. And me growing up, I was 7. I knew how to tie my shoes. I turned 11. I wish my aunt was up because she would definitely tell me the correct age. My aunt was taking me home this particular day. She said, "Isaac, tie your shoes." And I looked down and I tried, and I said, "I don't know how to tie my shoe." My aunt said, "Okay." So I called tie a shoe. Told my cousin to tie my shoe. She took me home and said, "Layla, Isaac is forgetting plain and simple things. Go get him help." I was around about 8. I believe I was around about 8. And my mom would ask me stuff, and I'd be like, "Oh, I don't know I forgot how to spell it. I forgot to spell my own name." And so it's a genetic thing. I was on medication for years. I've seen a therapist for years. I was 15 because I was 16 when I started preaching, and took myself off of medicine. Told my therapist, "I don't want to take this no more. I'm going to watch God, and you're going to watch God get me out of this, take me away from this." And indeed, that happened. The therapist said I need no more therapy. But battling ADHD,
can we stop
OCD,
right there?
Yes.
I just want to pause just right there, just for a minute, because you said something, and I want everybody to hear what you said, because you said something so powerful. You made up in your mind, I'm done with this medication. However, you also took action behind it. You had the faith, but you also had action, and then that faith plus that action equaled the results, and not just results that you saw in yourself, that your therapist was also able to identify. Am I correct?
Yeah, and it's
okay.
Yes, you're definitely correct. And people fail to realize that. I'm going to go fast forward just a little bit, then probably rewind back.
You're good.
I told it was this Caucasian woman. When I was looking at, everybody knows that I was a store manager at Starbucks in D.C. And we had a big store. And this lady, she said something about you, and I told her my story. She said, "Help me get my son off of this because he don't want to take it." And I told her how to wing it off, and he won off really good. But it's in the 6th grade, he's still doing good. They're all actually on my Facebook. So it's how you do it. It's not just saying, oh, just wing yourself off of it and you don't have no faith. It's hard because you're going to have that side effects. I have side effects. But it's how you do things. It's how you do it. It's the way you do it. And I wanted to show myself that I could do it. Just like me going to the Marine Corps was something that I wanted to do. And I even struggled with that, being under a particular leader. And I'm putting my business out there. Can't give his name. But
right.
You know, we were DL. We were down low. He was my first relationship. I didn't know nothing about a gay relationship. I was molested at a young age. Me and my sister together by one of my grandma's boyfriends. We were molested. And raped. But you know, I told my family before that I always had that feeling that I wanted to be with another same-sex man. I love women too, but at that particular time, I knew I was more attracted to men. So we were down low, and you know, we lived in my condo in Raleigh. I would drive. It was a long drive, but I would drive to go back to base. When I was in the Marine Corps, you know, we struggled. We fought. My first time ever fighting another person, hand to hand. I've experienced struggles in D.C. living my very first apartment, because it was in his apartment. I was paying for the condo, but it was in his name. But my very first apartment was in D.C., where I moved individuals in that I thought was friends that I was close with, and they screwed me over. So I learned from that, struggling with not having nothing in the house, trying to make ends meet, trying to do this, trying to do that, trying to please everybody, but forgetting about Labrett.
Come on.
Was always helping out everybody else, and everybody else will dog my name out, but I forgot all about Labrett. That's what made me move to D.C., because I had a friend here in Philadelphia. He said, "Hey, I want you to move into my bedroom. You'll pay me so-and-so a month." He lied to me about a lot of things. Then one day I told him, "You're not going to use me." He was the first person I ever corrected. So you're not going to use me. I'm going back home. I was getting ready to move to D.C. because Apostle Smith wanted me to move to D.C. So I could better myself, because I told him what was happening. And he threw my stuff out on the street corner and then blasted it on Facebook. And all my friends are inboxing me, asking me what's going on, am I okay? And I didn't know until I went on there myself. All because I wouldn't give you $200 and you gotten $700 already from me. And you were using me when you had a dresser full of money, and your own best friend who lived downstairs from you told me, and I was able to see it myself. So that's what made me cautious about people, period, because I'm so gullible. I'm very gullible, to the point to where those things kept happening back to back to back. But I didn't blame them. I blame myself, because this is a repeated cycle that I should have broken. So I talk about that too. But struggle for me is a word that I still hold close to me, because what keeps me humble is me going back to my past, so that way I won't go through the same thing again, but two, it'll keep me humble because I know how it is to struggle.
Okay. So now the last word is also in the title of your book too. It's overcoming or becoming an overcomer. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about how you define what an overcomer is and how you begin to see and view yourself as an overcomer.
Being an overcomer means you have overcame obstacle after obstacle after obstacle. You've overcame certain tragedies or struggles. You've overcame fear. You're not no longer scared of embracing a new identity, and that could be spiritually and naturally. And for me, it is all the above. When I began to write the book 8 years ago, it took a lot of me. I stopped. I stopped for 2 years when I moved to D.C. I picked it back up and stopped for about 5 or 6 years, and it was Overseer David Parker, now Overseer David Griffin, who told me, you need to write your book, and this time not put it down. In the middle of his house, he just randomly says this, and I said, wow. So at that particular time, I used his map book. I sat at his desk, and I said, I don't want to type it. I just want to look at your map book. And I began to write, and I sat there for about till 2 o'clock in the morning, to be exact. And I have written about 250 pages at that particular time. And that's when I started to heal myself. Because that was a lot of hurt in that book. And it's funny, some people may laugh at it, but I had to have close friends pray over, that were spiritual prayer over it. Overseer Parker was, Overseer Griffin was one of those people that I told myself, I want you to pray over every paper that I'm getting ready to use, every paper that I already used was already written, because I don't want nobody else to feel this hurt when they read this book. Because me writing this stuff, a lot of people fail to realize when you're writing a book, if you're not cautious, you don't know what can jump after you typed it. Even when you type it, you don't know what can jump off of a book to where a person that is sensitive can feel it. So I began to overcome a lot of stuff by writing that book. And I began to smile more, because it was hard for me to laugh. It was hard for me to smile. And I smile so much now. I don't, and it's crazy, because I think about something, I just break out and smile just randomly. Because it was with me getting this on paper that I was able to overcome. It wasn't the fact that I overcame every obstacle of fear and molestation and being used and embracing new identity. It was the fact that I was able to write it that I overcame my own testimony.
So I want to ask you a question then, because
yes,
I'm gonna let you finish, but I just want to interject something real quick. You're basically telling me then that writing is a form of healing. Writing is a form of deliverance. Writing is a form of therapy. Writing can help you gain hold of your life once again. If it was a smile that's missing, that smile, that happiness, that peace, that rest that you need can be found sometimes in simply your willingness to write it out.
Yes. Even, and the crazy part about it is, if you and it's going to what I'm going to say is going to be crazy, but if some people will pick up and read and what is that, Habakkuk 2, I think it's 2, where it says write the vision, make it plain. But if you fully understand what that prophet was saying, when you pick that pen up and you begin to write, you'll be able to get rid of certain things from your own self. Now, those are the prophetic scribes. They understand that. They understand that formatting, because I myself developed the fact that I was a part of being a prophetic scribe. But before I even knew what the prophetic was, it was healing to me. It's still healing to me. And a lot of times, my grandma died about 6 years ago, my great grandma, and I eulogized my only. I had one grandmother left, but I eulogized my other great grandmother recently, and I began to write and I began to cry, because these are two prominent women in my life. The first one I didn't even heal from, and it wasn't until I had to write a eulogy on my way to New Jersey to go pick up a garment that I never even wore to eulogize my grandma, my great-grandmother, and I was able to cry. So it is definitely it could be from you typing on your iPad or typing on your MacBook. Any form that seems like it's writing is a healing. It is a healing process.
Awesome. And I encourage people all the time. I tell everybody, no, everybody's not going to write a book. I do believe everybody has the ability to write a book. You have the ability to do whatever it is that you desire to do. However, I do believe that it is so powerful to put down what is inside of your head, to put that thing to paper and cause it to live outside of you, is so powerful. And I believe that sometimes it's missed because sometimes we think, first of all, nobody wants to read my story. Nobody wants to hear what I have to say. Nobody cares. But you don't realize just how powerful it is to you yourself first for you to release it. So let's talk about the book a little bit, okay? Now, I was listening to you talk about your writing process and how you started and then you stopped, and then you picked it up and you completed it. Now, where can the book be found now? Tell the people where they can get the book, or I believe I read, if I'm not mistaken, the other day that you had said that you're revising it and it'll be out again soon.
Yes,
okay.
I'm revising it.
Okay.
The website, which is my full name, LabrettFoster.com. It will be back up soon. Everything will be back up. I wanted everything to be down. The person that 787 Publishing Company helped me with mocking the news side. She didn't like the way everything was. Neither did one of my professors, and I didn't. But I wanted to. I went with what was that 99 something publishing company that is a self-publishing company, and I wanted to go ahead and because I had already placed the order, already did it, and I just wanted to go ahead and get this first phase of the book out to friends and family. A couple of people barred it, but this new one will be out prayerfully by October. The only reason why I pushed it to October is because I want to make sure that all of my resources are met. Because of what's happening, I couldn't get it on my birthday because the shutdown, because of other issues with scheduling at work, and I have no hours. So I was like, okay, I have to, because I was going to do a book signing, but I had to push that until October. So it'll definitely be here. I'm definitely going to keep you updated. But I also there's a link on there for PayPal too. So PayPal always alerts me. I have 2 alerts, and I haven't accepted the money yet. I only did $25 because it's shipping and handling. So I made it really cheap. But it will be out soon. It will be on my website, and then I'm going to try to look into Amazon as well as Apple, because I know Apple also helps with that.
Definitely, when you release it, definitely let me know. We'll get you back on here too, And what I'll do is I'll purchase a couple as a giveaway to those who will call in, because you guys can see how powerful his story is just in the little bit that he has given us on tonight. I don't even know if you noticed it, Labrett, but we've actually talked ourselves off the air. The live show has ended. However, we're still recording. We are dark, but we're still recording. So on the replay, the podcast edition, everything that you have been discussing since we've been off the air and what we will continue to discuss will be available on the podcast edition. And I'll send you that link out on tomorrow once I listen to it. But what I do now is I have about 3 more questions I want to ask you, and then I'm going to turn it into your hands like we're in church. You're going to get the benediction. But turn it into your hands for you to tell everybody how to get in touch with you and all of those things. But these are 3 questions I ask everybody once we're off the air. But I think I'm going to ask you 4. I have 4 questions to ask you. Okay? The first question that I want to ask you is, you talked about ADHD and different LDs, different learning disabilities, that you found yourself becoming familiar with as a child. Now, I look at that, and then I look at you now as an adult, having completed your first, I'm sure, of many books. Okay? What do you say to that young person that is out there that has been classified with ADD, ADHD, different learning disabilities, or just had negative things spoken over their lives? They feel, like there's no way, no hope, no how, no positivity inside of them, whether it's because of their community, whether it's because of their family, whether it's because of, what they have bought into themselves. What do you say to them that have that struggle with the belief that they can be successful at something?
Don't listen to it. Don't feed into it. Just speak over yourself. I love my mother, and my mother, she only would do what she saw growing up. Caught the name calling. You never feed into it. I never fed into it. You never feed into it. Yes, you might cry. It may hurt your feelings, but you never feed into it. And don't harden your heart towards people that say it.
That's the key, right? You hit that there too. That harden in the heart, because once you harden your heart, nothing can get in, and you're not letting any of that out. So now the second question. Heart. Oh, go ahead.
No, that was it.
Okay. All right. I thought you were going to elaborate on that. So I was like, okay. I didn't know what else you were going to say about that. But the second question is, if everyone that's listening to the show right now, because you hit us with a lot of things on tonight, if everyone forgot everything that you said tonight, what would be one thing that you want them to remember from this interview?
That you can overcome anything, but you have to take the ability to make those steps forward. You can't ask God to make any steps forward unless you take 4 steps and then allow Him to walk with you. That's it. You just move forward.
Awesome. Now, the third question, here we like to acknowledge, you see the name of the show is Transformation Radio. I'm big on transformation. So we like to acknowledge what we call transforming transformers. Transforming transformers are mentors and those that have been our behind-the-scenes support systems that have helped us accomplish a lot of the things that we've accomplished and have been there with us during those low moments and help pick us up and help us, rebuild ourselves and reprogram our hearts, our mind, and our spirit. Do you have 1 to 3 individuals that you would like to acknowledge who have served as transforming transformers in your personal life?
Yes. My mother, my great aunt, my spiritual mother.
Awesome. Okay, and then here's how we end every interview. All right? And before we end the interview, I want you to tell the people how they can connect with you. And you've already given your website, but I want you to give your website again, give your social media handles, everything. And if you have anything else you want to say, you're welcome to say it during this before I get to the last question. So I'm going to turn it into your hands.
Social media would be Facebook, would be Labrett Isaac Carl Foster II, the whole name. Same thing for Instagram, and same thing for Snapchat. Now, I'm warning everybody, my Snapchat has got a whole lot of people just as well as my Facebook. I don't discriminate. They could be porn stars, butt naked people. Mm-hmm. I'm not discriminating. Mm-hmm. They're all welcome on my page, saved or unsaved. So I'm just warning you now. That is, the website will be www.labrettfoster.com. If it changes, you guys will definitely know. But those are my social media platforms that I got so far. Twitter, I'm still working on.
Awesome. Okay. Now, here's the last question. Labrett, who is God to you?
God is my knight and shining armor. And that is correct, true, all the way. That's my number one go-to. God is everything to me. Like my mother even tell you, she ain't nothing to me when it's about me and God. She could be talking to me and the Lord say something to me and she already know. And it's a wrap.
I feel you. And what I love about this, I end every interview with that same question. And I can say I started this, I don't know if I did it in the beginning, but it's been about a year since I've done this. And not one time has anybody duplicated the same thing as God being to them. And I do this because I want everybody to understand that regardless of how much revelation and understanding that we have of God, we will never be able to completely understand, in essence, everything that God is. We'll experience it in different seasons of our lives, but our interpretation of him and our personal experiences, if we can listen to one another, will help unlock dimensions of who God is to, through, and for each and every one of us. So, Labrett, I thank you for joining us on tonight. I appreciate your willingness to share, as I said earlier, with our listening audience. Each and every one of you that tuned in, I say thank you, thank you, thank you. Without you guys, there would be no show. I mean, no point of me getting on, sitting behind a mic and talking to nobody. So I appreciate you guys. You make the show. I appreciate your feedback and your support. I encourage you to learn more about the show, to learn more about everything that I'm doing. Visit my website, www.cliftonpettyjohn.com, all right? If you have any ideas for the show, you want to give any feedback about the show, you can email me at info@cliftonpettyjohn.com. Again, Labrett, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Listening audience, I encourage you to follow Labrett as well as support when the book comes back out. I encourage you to do that. And as I always say, create a great day, walk with purpose, and by all means, guys, execute your vision. Peace.